Be sure to hit that like button. Tap that thumbs up. Give us a like on the show. Hit that subscribe button as well. Get into other standouts from the second scrimmage, other marquee things from the second game-like practice for the Crimson Tide. And right out of the gate, I'm going to say this. The running back room is deep, good, talented for Alabama, but Coach Saban just cannot keep his eyes and cannot stop talking about Justice Haynes. This freshman is about to have a say, and he will have a say. So many people I spoke to after the scrimmage said he's got a Mark Ingram workman-like mentality. The way he competes, the way he goes out there, the way he handles his business, Justice Haynes is something. Nick Saban said it himself. If you were just a guy sitting out there on the log and you're just watching him, you would not think he was a freshman. And this comes from Nick Saban. Nick Saban says the way he competes, the way he plays, he different. Justice Haynes, I was told in the scrimmage, had several 20-plus yard runs, ripping them, seeking out contact, and just ripping through. Guy can ball. And I've said this before. When Alabama's had a freshman running back that has come in and meant business, that's when Bama has been at its apex. Mark Ingram did it 08. Trent Richardson did it 09. TJ Yeldon did it 2012. Derrick Henry did it late, but 2013, because when they finally gave him the ball, of course. Najee Harris did it 2017. When you have a freshman running back that mean business, Bama has been at that apex. Here is Justice Haynes, ready to have his say, ready to have his impact. So it's going to be very interesting how, if he goes off on A-Day, if Haynes goes off on A-Day, could we see somebody in Bama's running back room hit the portal? It's going to be very interesting, folks. But Justice Haynes showed up, showed out in the spring game. Moving on here, at that wide receiver position, I mentioned this before. Alabama's going to have 7 to 8 guys in that rotation. They're going to want the football. But one of those guys, the young man from Louisiana, Kendrick Law, he a dog. Competitor. I kind of compare him to Deebo Samuel in the NFL. Compact frame, tough as nails. Can do a lot of things. Coach Saban mentioned Kendrick Law is that guy that gets the whole wide receiver room going. Tough, hard-nosed, competitor, plays his butt off. I mean, this is a kid that had a beautiful 55-yard catch from Jalen Milroe in the scrimmage. Had a play where he broke a couple of tackles, ran a DB over. He can play. Now, if Tommy Rees brings back the jet sweep that Lane Kiffin installed, I would love to see Kendrick Law being ran in that several times. Please, give us that. Kendrick Law can play, straight up. We saw him the back portion of last year start to really chirp and play great ball. So, got several receivers in this rotation, but Kendrick Law, one of those guys you definitely want to keep your eyes on. Next here from the scrimmage, that was a thing of note. You look at the offensive line, and in particular, you look at Seth McLaughlin and Darian Dalcourt. I'm going to say this. McLaughlin, I was told, had a kind of a difficult day with the snaps, had some bad snaps out there, 6 to 8 bad snaps. A lot of that going up against Shaheem Otis, and Otis would scare anybody, but that is kind of a concern there because you got to have those snaps consistent. What I've been told is if McLaughlin cleans up those snaps, he's fine. He's good. He's okay. If there is a continued problem with those snaps, then you can look at Darian Dalcourt sliding back to center and having Terrence Ferguson at that left guard spot, or you could have Darian Dalcourt at center and big Caden Proctor, the 5-star freshman, you plug and play him at that left guard spot. So hopefully McLaughlin can clean up snaps there. Probably was just him having a tough day. He can clean up those snaps there. He's fine. If not, we could see some shifting going along there on the offensive line. The good news is for the line is physical again. It is nasty again. I heard from a couple people, you could hear the pads popping in that second scrimmage. The offensive line and defensive line, they were going to straight war out there in that second scrimmage. I mean, a couple of times, the defense got penetration over the offensive line, but a lot of times that offensive line, they were going out. You could hear the pads popping. It was a lot of man-on-man, physical football. What you want out there? Seth McLaughlin, I'll be able to clean up those snaps out there on the field, but that's just the offensive line. As we flip this over to defense here, Bama's defensive line, boy, is it deep. Deep, physical, nasty, across the board. You're three deep or more at both defensive end spots. You're two deep, at the very least, at the defensive tackle position. So Jamil Burrows, big 98, had a big day. Burrows had a really good scrimmage. And people have been waiting on Burrows to just finally put it all together and become that dude. He had a really good second scrimmage. Tim Smith and James Smith, the Smith boys, bullies. Absolute bullies. James Smith is a man-child. The boy from Carver going to find somewhere on that field. He's either going to be a co-starter at nose tackle with Jaheim Otis, or he's going to end up messing around and find the starting spot at one of these two defensive end positions. Tim Smith has become a grown man. It's taken him a while, but he's finally settled into his spot out there as a defensive end. But this defensive line, deep, physical, ferocious, tough group, can get after the run, get after the quarterback as well. We look here at the inside linebacker position. Right now, at middle linebacker, it looks like Tresman Marshall, the transfer from Georgia, has taken that command. They've been loving his leadership. They've been loving his toughness, his maturity. But it looks like Tresman Marshall has taken that command. Now, Kendrick Blackshire ain't out of it just yet. He ain't completely out of it just yet. And Jahad Campbell, you're not going to keep that guy off the field. But right now, just from the second scrimmage, what I've been told, just the toughness, the maturity, the way that Tresman Marshall plays, coming from Georgia, coming from Kirby Smart, he's taken that command there at that middle linebacker position. There's Tresman Marshall. When you look at the Alabama defensive secondary, here's what kind of gets fun. Christian Story. If Christian Story can lock up one of these two safety spots, it can really be fun. Story had a really good second scrimmage, y'all. I was told pick 6 off Jalen Milroe. Christian Story, he got one. Nick Saban said it. Great ball skills, great coverage skills. He knows what he's doing out there. Just for Christian Story, playing with a bit more consistency every time out. So what does that translate to me? There are times when Christian Story is out there, he's on it, and there are times where he gets burned a bit. If Story can clean that up and grab one of those two safety spots, he can be really good. Remember, Christian Story came out of high school, Lynette High School, 2020, special player, Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Alabama. I think he was Mr. Football for the state of Alabama in 19. He's a talent. He's a talent at 6'1", 211 pounds. If he can just clean up the small inconsistencies in his game, Christian Story can be really good. Continue with the secondary here. Keep your eyes on Jaquez Robinson. I've been waiting on this guy. Redshirt junior, came in the 2020 class out of Florida, South Florida. When he came in, he was skinny. 160, 165, 170 pounds. One of the criteria that Saban has, if you want to be a DB, you gotta be 200. You have to be 200 plus pounds. At the least, You got to be at that 200-pound threshold between 190, 195, 200. You got to be near that 200-pound threshold. It's taking Jaquez Robinson a minute. He was behind a lot of guys. He's now right on 200 pounds. I don't know how many jars of peanut butter he took down, but the brother's finally at that 200-pound threshold, and he had the other pick six off of Jalen Milroe. Jaquez Robinson had it. So he can play. He's pushing Terrion Arnold for that second corner spot. He's coming fast. Terrion's holding serve at that other corner spot opposite Kool-Aid McKinstry right now. But keep your eyes on Jaquez Robinson. He's coming fast. And last but not least here, Bama's tight end room, going back to the offense. Tight end room is deep. Saban high on the improvement of Amari Nyblack and Dan English Jr. Also, Miles Kitsman improved, but Saban loves C.J. Dupre. He has come in, and he's emerged as the best tight end coming in from the transfer portal out of Maryland. Saban mentioned Dupre. He can do all three things for you. He can block in the C gap. He can be an H-back. He can split out wide, catch the football as a tight end, as a receiving tight end. He can do all three. All three things. I was told he was targeted 15 times in the second scrimmage, used all throughout the offense. Bama's got an elite, legit tight end, and Dupre, it'll be fun to watch him in this upcoming season.